What's up, YouTube? It is Saturday, June 13th, 2020, and we are on episode 4 of On the Hotbed. And I got to turn off my other screen so that way I don't hear myself talk. So today, we're going to talk to Wolfgang. He is the man in charge, the evil mad scientist, per se, at Zaribo, who makes printers that are really tall. Let me move out. Really tall. Hold on, let me get my whiteboard out. Whiteboard. That tall printer right here. That printer right there. See how tall it is? See that height difference there? Yeah, it's a 320 millimeter printer. It's a Prusa, but it's 320 millimeters tall. So we're going to talk to that guy right now. What's up, Wolfgang?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I am fantastic. It is Saturday. It's early. My friend has an art show today that I got to go to later, so the lady's going to come visit. We're all going to go to the art show and eat food downtown outside because there's no indoor food right now still because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
But,
same here. So it's early evening here, and most restaurants can only serve outside. There are only few people allowed in the inside.
Yep. Got to stay safe
Yes.
because if we don't, we won't be around to have yummy food. So yeah, you are. Who are you? What do you do, Wolfgang? Where do you work?
Where do I work? I work since 1.5 years. I only work for Zaribo.
Nice.
Before I was a management consultant, but in real life I was a physicist.
Oh wow.
At the university.
Physicist at a university. So you have actual credentials to tell me whether or not this works or not.
Well, I'm not an electrician. I'm a theoretical nuclear physicist.
With theoretical nuclear physicist. So if we wanted a fusion 3D printer, you're the man to talk to.
Hopefully.
I am excited for that. There is a 3D Gustner's already letting me know there's a 420. I don't have the 420, so maybe it's this tall. Like there's the 420 right there, and there's the 320 here, and then here's our 210 millimeter down here. Like again, they're getting tiny. These printers so tiny having a 210 millimeter Prusa.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
not
always
only the height, but also the frame, which makes the Prusa look like a toy.
It is much more. I can't compare because I have bears, so the frames are a little thicker.
Yes.
But when you have that little tiny extrusion and the little flippity floppity 6 millimeter, the aluminum cutout stuff, it doesn't look the same. I definitely got to admit, after building this, that thing is one sturdy piece of equipment. Because yeah, it's printing right now. I would normally have it on my desk here, but it needs to work. It has things it has to do.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Josh. We got Alien here. Nice. And we got Gusner, who also works with you. He does the firmware stuff, right?
Yes.
And Justin and Chris and Peter and 3D. We got a bunch of people. And Carl, White Knight's in here. When are you gonna make a Zaribo belt printer?
We are working on improving the belt stuff. So actually, I have a 9 millimeter belt here in front of me that will soon go on the y-axis. I just need to adapt some of the plastic parts. But I think we've done a lot to improve the print quality with the 10 millimeter rods.
Yes. Oh yeah.
With the blocks, that makes really a huge difference. I didn't expect that, to be honest. But the plastic parts, when you screw in something, they deform a little bit, and it's much harder to make them run smooth. So with the blocks, it's a total different league.
What about blocks on the x-axis?
That's an option as well. So we improved the z-axis and the x-axis as well. So we use the 5 millimeter bearings instead of the 2 bearings.
Yes.
And so you have to align the bearings to run the rod smooth. and there's no such question when you have just one bearing.
Very true.
And so on the x-axis we have this 5 mm bearing as well, and it makes also the x-axis run smoother. We also experimented with linear rails already. We had a working version. This was last year in April, where we had a rail on Y, we had rails on X, we also had rails on Z. But our findings is, if you want to sell it as a kit, support will be overwhelmed with questions. My printer is not running.
If you guys have never built a printer with linear rails, alignment is extremely important, especially if you're going to try to put two. So you can't just have one linear rail on the Z, because there's nowhere to mount one Z motor and one Z. It's impossible. So you have to have two, and that binding is very easy to do. So you have to make sure that not only are your vertical axes completely parallel to each other, you actually have to make sure that the linear rails are perpendicular to each other, which is a testament to your patience when you're building something. So when I first did my, I took Olaf's Bear linear rail y-axis, and I adapted it for, because he did it for a Mark II Bear, and I modified it for the Mark III Bear. Oh boy, that was probably half a day teaching myself how to align each axis, how to make sure everything is perfectly square, because, you know, just because you take a set of calipers and you set it to one side, that doesn't mean everything's perfect.
Yes, exactly.
So
so it makes assembly more expensive.
Yes.
And it also makes it almost impossible to sell it as a kit. So that's why we decided to stay with the rods. You just have to align them on 2 points, and you're done.
Yeah, rods are definitely. That was one thing I noticed. It was really odd. So I knew that 10mm rods were going to be better. It just makes sense. You're going to have better harmonics. They're going to have better motion on the bearings.
Yeah.
Because my issue with the Prusa 8mm rods, and with anyone who's ever owned an A-net or any clone that uses 8mm rods, is they flex. Aligning bearings all over the place is not easy to do. But in all, it's really easy to put rods together, make them work. But they're, the 8mm rods are loud. They tend to vibrate really easily, so you end up with vertical banding and other issues from the ball bearings rolling on steel, because it's just metal rolling on metal with a little bit of lubrication, a very microscopic film of lubrication.
Yes.
And then you move the 10mm bearings, and I'm sitting here like, this is the quietest. I don't know if everyone watched my build video. I'm just like sliding that y-axis. I'm just like,
yeah,
it sounds like linear rails. Like it sounds that same quieter, much more just smoother motion. Like it was night and day. And then I was like, the x-axis, I'm like, this is weird. Why is this x-axis so quiet? Like, this is not what I'm used to. There we go.
So initially, we had a prototype with 12mm rods.
Yeah.
And then we decided to make a compromise between 8 and 12, which is 10. Yep. So that turned out to be the final version for the moment.
Yeah, if you make 12, because then again, remember, you have to redesign all the parts for it, because, if you make your parts for 8mm, there's so much room. You can't just go, I'm going to shove a 10mm rod in there. Your walls could be too thin. You guys redesigned all the parts to make it work, make it thicker.
Actually, after the 8mm, we did the 10mm on Y and Z, which is relatively easy. But for X, it was really hard to do, because in the carriage, there's not much room.
Yep.
For the belt, the bearings, screws, and everything. So that was really hard work. Why we had for some time the so-called 10mm version with just 10mm on Y and Z. And since I think 6-8 weeks, we have the full 10mm version.
Nice. Yeah, because that I gotta admit, like, if anyone wants to mod and you want to do something that's fun, I would try 10mm rods if you have a Prusa style printer. Now, if you have a Core XY, linear rails. But if you have one of these Prusa, bed slingers, something in me wants to convert all my printers over to 10mm rods. Because I've already gone down the path of linear rails. Because a lot of people are like, oh man, linear rails are just going to be so much better. And after testing them myself, I can say that there's a marginal improvement to moving to linear rails on a bed slinger. You don't gain the benefit just changing a y-axis only to linear rails because you still have the x-axis.
Yes.
And unsupported, like if you look at some brands, they'll put just a linear rail across for the x-axis, but it's unsupported. And you can't
horrible.
do that.
No.
I mean, you can do that, but you should never, ever, forever, ever, looking at you, Railcore, take a linear rail and suspend it without attaching it to something because they're not flat. They are not guaranteed true in that plane. They need to be mounted. So now you get a bigger piece. So you have to mount it to something. So now you have this endeavor to fit all of it with this thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so we ordered already the y-axis that would go under the rails, and then we had the rails. But there's also, let's say, some quality difference in rails. You can get very cheap rails that you have to clean, but they still won't run as let's say like high-wind rails, which are quite expensive. At least
they're very expensive.
Buy them from the manufacturer.
I live an hour and a half from Highwind, and I don't get a deal.
200 euros for one pair with.
Yeah.
So it's I think the rods in 10 millimeters are really, really good. Well, compromise is maybe too little, but it's a good working version.
So here's a question from chat. Frank's going to ask you,
Hi,
when
Frank.
are you going to do a Core XY Zaribo?
He knows it. He visited us for quite some time, and he's actually a former colleague of mine.
Nice.
So we have some plans for that. But I was nobody was prepared for Corona.
Yeah.
So, we were developing some stuff, and then we have some prototypes here, not for the Core XY already, but something in between, and we're working on it. But the greatest challenge at the moment is dealing with supplies and suppliers.
Yeah, nothing is back to 100% in the supply chain. I've had issues trying to get simple things, and I'm just like one person looking for like 2 motors.
Yeah.
And they're like, can you wait a month?
Yesterday we learned that the gates belts will be delayed by 4 weeks from our supplier. So now I have to find an alternative, and the same as with others. So delivery times are extended by weeks in some cases. And we have pre-orders and things like that. So there's a huge amount of communication, of dealing, of finding other suppliers. So that's why also development is a little bit delayed in our case. So we can work as usual here, but supplies is the biggest issue, and time.
So Vopa OB, Vopaub, I have no idea how to say that, but he's asking, how high of a Z would you go with 8 or 10 millimeter rods or rails without risking losing print quality? That's a good question.
Yeah, so in our experience, with the 8 millimeters, we have the 420 millimeter version.
Which is tall.
Which is tall, yeah. But for the last 10 centimeters, I would, so usually, or the farm, we have the max speed is 80 millimeters, and we get really high quality parts with that. So for the 420, I would just reduce the speed a bit. With the 10 millimeter version, I wouldn't say there's a difference. You can print the full 420 millimeters with the same speed.
Nice.
It's so sturdy.
Marlin is working on a firmware feature that lowers acceleration as the Z height grows.
Oh,
that should be pushed in the next few. If you guys haven't been watching Marlin, I was just talking to Wolfgang about it off camera. Like there is like 128 something commits going into the next. And one of the things they're working on is decelerating, changing acceleration settings as the Z gets higher. So improve that print quality.
Ah, that's good. We need that.
I'm excited for it. Let's see here. What else we got here? Yeah. So if you guys don't know Ewan, he cuts carbon fiber rods for his printer. Now he needs 10 millimeter carbon fiber rods. You're welcome. Bob Carnes 10 millimeter bear. I gotta admit, like So again, I was caught off guard. Like everyone that watched my stream and saw me build that Zaribo, and when I got that Y-axis on, I'm just like I'm just like this is insane. Like I have linear rail Y-axis printers, and they're louder. So if you guys don't know, one of the downfalls of linear rail is their harmonics is actually higher. You actually get a little bit more noise depending on the type of rail and what's on it. So it's actually not that much quieter to go to linear rails in some instances, depending on what it's attached to. The rods, on the other hand, it was like that is my quietest printer back here. The Zaribo back here is my quietest printer out of all, even the ones in the boxes. I still think my Zaribo is the quietest one standing behind me. The only thing I can hear is my fan. I accidentally put a 8,000 RPM fan on it, so it's loud. But if I put a normal fan on there, it probably would have been better.
Yeah, we have people complaining about the mean well being
Yeah,
too
the
loud.
Meanwell fan is loud too, and it does have a Meanwell, but mine doesn't kick on that often. Oh, does that mean someone's asking about the pending orders, and I know that you've been spending literally like every day shipping orders, and that's the issue with right now. Everyone's like, they look at Prusa, like you can't buy something from them without lead time. Like even things like the MMU2 still have lead time. Things like a Mark III still have lead time, and they're a huge company. I mean, they're what 350 employees, you know, shipping worldwide, and you're a smaller version that's selling a ton of kits, and it's still hard to keep up. You know,
Yes.
it goes back to even me. I can't order 2 motors from a place. It took me forever, you know, to get 2 motors because it
Yeah,
just
and the thing is,
no one's at 100% anymore.
when I go to Mizumi and order 50 extrusions,
Yeah.
they give me 60 days of delivery time.
Yep.
So I have to order in 10th, every day 10. Then I get it in 2 weeks. So it's really horrible. So at the moment we have a lead time of about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But we have some really long waiting back orders even from April. But the reason for that is mainly that we introduced the block version.
Yeah, and the blocks
And
are taking a while.
I wasn't sure how successful that will be. I was, a little bit cautious and ordered just 60. And I said, well, if they don't sell, we sell them in half a year or so.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a mail to all other people before they start complaining, oh, I just got my printer, I didn't know about the block version. And really everyone wanted the 10 millimeter version, the full 10 millimeter plus the block version.
Yeah.
So there's really some backlog due to that. We have plenty of carriages now, and things with Mizumi will improve on the 17th. So starting on the 17th, we will get about 12 frames per day, and then the backlog should be going down very soon.
Nice. Yeah, because that's, again, logistics is hard. Like I was trying to over the, like, again, I had nothing to do but build printers. I was trying to order from McMaster-Carr. They were out of so many things during the COVID, and then we've got I was trying to order stuff from Misumi. Same thing. Like I'd order rods from Misumi, and things that were normally like next day
Yes.
were 4 to 5 days.
Yeah, exactly.
5 business days, like working days. So Monday through Friday. So if I order on a Thursday, I have to wait until sometime next week, like Wednesday, because it might be done by Tuesday and it might ship out. And shipping was slowed down. Like it's not been easy to be like. I would not want to be a small business. Well, I am a small business. I would not want to be a small business that's selling product right now, because you have to take into account everyone else's delay, which then makes your delay. And then if they promise you something and they're like, sorry, it's going to take another 10 days.
Yeah. It's a domino effect.
Yep.
And so it's all the carriers. So the worst part we experienced was that a package with the carriages shipping from Frankfurt, which is 150 kilometers from here, was stuck in a DHL warehouse for 1 week, and we were waiting for those carriages. It was horrible.
Yeah, I had a DHL. When I got my Zaribo, you noticed my DHL issue. It came in, and they're like, we got to hold this now. I was like, why? Why you gotta hold this? And then all of a sudden, like, I messaged them, and they were like, yeah, we'll give you a call back. They never called me back, and then the next day it shipped, and I was like, okay,
Usually they're quite good. So I must say, DHL Express is really working good, at least here in Germany. So it's a door-to-door service. There's no other carrier involved. They are carefully, usually with the packages, so printers arrive in one piece. They're really good, I must say.
Yeah.
But
they've been
also
my favorite for international, but
they have issues with lower number of planes. Then you have also customs involved.
yep.
So it's like they have more packages than Christmas being fully unprepared.
Yep.
So it's terrible. But everybody's doing its best. So
Yep.
if people are a little bit patient, everything will work.
Yeah, that's been my advice. Like I don't think I think the only time I canceled an order in this entire time was I ordered a board. It was a sale from Big Tree Tech for boards, SKR boards, and I ordered it in March, and it has 60 days to ship because that's just how China Post works. Like that's the Aliexpress. We will guarantee it as long as it delivers within 60 days. It was June, so again, March, April, May, June. Still never received it. It was at 60 days, and it had never shipped. So I canceled the order, and they were like, "Oh, but we'll send it out eventually." And I was like, "You haven't even tried." Like, but I'm not arguing with them. I'm just like, I understand it's tough. I'll just order it from Amazon now because now Amazon has stock. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm still buying the board. It just won't be directly from you because I can't wait another. Who knows? It's all about that. Patience and stuff. We sell a Prusa to Zaribo. Yeah, they already have. So Daniel, if you haven't been to their website, yeah, there's their website,
Yes,
Zaribo.com. They have a conversion kit. That's what I bought. I bought the 10 millimeter full upgrade, but I didn't actually upgrade a Prusa. I just bought because literally you get everything. You get the frame, all the rods, all the bearings, all the parts, everything. I just added a Mosquito Bondtech. I added a bed. And I added an LCD screen and a board, and that's all you need. So you don't have to buy it, but if you have things lying around like I do, you can just buy the upgrade kit. But they do everything. They have full kits assembled, full kits in pieces, and upgrade kits. And you can buy printed parts already and print it without printed parts. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's I think one of the very good things we did in the last month, that you can configure everything. You can configure the PSU, the extruder, the hot end thermistor, the heater, the display. We have the OLED. We had some smart people making it work. And
those smart people need to help us out in Marlin because I want that OLED screen in Marlin. And there's been a request for like 6 months to add that screen to stock Marlin. But no one can decode the crap that is Prusa firmware. Because if you've never opened up Prusa firmware, it is a gosh darn maze. Like, it's a maze.
You can talk to 3D Gussner.
Gussner!
Yes.
Send the info to Marlin. There's a pending GitHub pull or GitHub request for OLED screen.
Yeah, so we have even in our GitHub, we have the source code for Prusa. Supporting the BMG and the OLED.
Yep. Man, I love the OLED screen. Now, I will eventually put a TFT 3.5 on there. That way I can change my colors whatever I want. Because they just launched, they're going to launch on the 17th. Big Tree Tech is going to launch the 4, 5, and 7-inch TFT screens, which are dual mode. So they are both touch screens or they can be graphical displays. A 7-inch graphical display. That's going to look really cool on a Zaribo. So there's a good question in chat somebody had here. Would you ever do colorful frames? Now remember, they order, again, this is the one thing I mentioned in my build, was they buy all of their parts, most of them from Misumi. So this is high-grade rods, high-grade bearings, high-grade extrusion. And Misumi does not offer colorful extrusions. They would have to source their own from someone else. But is that an option in the future?
I was talking to Jason
Yes.
already on that. So it's an option. We have to look at costs because shipping is much higher than.
Yep.
And I don't want to steal the Bear stuff. So colorful frames were introduced by Greg and LDO. So that's their stuff. If there are really enough people who want that, we may support it as well, considering the costs.
I like it. Because, I can bug Jason too, because if nobody remembers, I was the first person to ask Jason about colorful frames before Greg, before anybody else, and I actually had the first colorful frame before anyone else. Super secret. That was me, because I'm a crazy guy. I'm like, what stupid thing can I put on my printer now? Colorful frames.
I actually ordered one color frame from him for a customer. He wanted an orange.
That would be pretty cool. Thank you, Tripod. Ooh, here we go. Well, before we jump into the background, let's do the lightning round. So we're going to jump into the quick lightning round questions. And then we'll go to that question real quick. So are you ready, Wolfgang, for a lightning round of questions?
I hope so.
Who is the owner of Zaribo?
It's Murathan and myself.
Nice. What is your favorite product from Zaribo?
Oh, it's the fully fledged 420.
10 millimeter everything bearing block?
Yes.
Nice. Which slicer do you prefer?
Well, that's a difficult question. At the time when I started, the Prusa slicer was a slick 3R.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't good at that time. So Simplify 3D was much better in my opinion, and I simply got used to it.
Agreed.
So that's why I stayed for most cases with Simplify. But Prusa invested a lot of time and money, so Prusa slicer is very good as well, and I use it from time to time.
I will say, Idea Maker is way better than Simplify 3D.
Oh, I have a raise at home as well, and I use it for that, of course. Yeah, and I use Cura for Ultimakers.
Oh man, I have switched over. All of my printers are now running Idea Maker to print parts because they print better. It's weird. Like I can't explain it, but my parts print better printing off Idea Maker. I think it's a toolpaths. I'm gonna call out Prusa again. Toolpath issue.
I read it a couple of times in the last weeks, so I will try the Idea Maker for our Zaribos as well.
Yeah, because if you actually checkbox the avoid crossing perimeters, it actually avoids perimeter crossing. It is night and day difference between Prusa Slicer. It's much more like S3D because again, Idea Maker is based off of S3D. So, yeah, and it used to be open source. It's not anymore, which is sad for all of us. All right, favorite filament.
Oh, brand or just color and then type?
Whatever is your favorite. So if it's like Filamentum Gold Happens, whatever you like, whatever you want to print with the most. If you're going to print a Benchy right now and be the coolest Benchy, what would you grab?
Yeah, we have this Filamentum stuff, this Vertigo Gray, Vertigo Voodoo, no, Wizards Voodoo. Yep. They are great filaments.
They are really nice. I have some right back. Right there's my stack. I don't use them, but they're there.
No, I love to print. I have many. I tried every spool from Filamentum that we have in the shop. We will also add some new like nylon CF and things like that. We have them all here already. You just need to add them to the shop.
Let's see here. Favorite candy that's not Haribo gummy bears.
It's actually Mars or Twix, or
really?
some good Belgian chocolate, which 3D Gassner provides us from time to time.
That is actually pretty good. I have now switched to the Albanese Ultimate gummy bears.
Oh, okay.
They use nothing but natural flavors from fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And these are the best gummy bears I've ever had in my life. And I also just bought a bag of their chocolate-covered cashews, which are upstairs right now, and I couldn't eat because I brushed my teeth, and then the FedEx delivery man came, and he's like, here's your Albanese order. I'm like, I can't eat any of this because my mouth is tastes like toothpaste.
Have you ever had the juicy gummy bears from Haribo?
I haven't. I've never seen them here. That's on my list to find.
We'll send you some with the next package.
There we go. Let's see here. PC or console gaming?
Nothing.
Oh, come on. Theoretical physicists should always be playing video games. Keeps the mind sharp.
When I was younger, I spent some time doing adventures.
Okay.
It's so time consuming. You sit a week in front of your PC, and the whole week is gone after that. So, I never found my way back to these gaming or.
Yeah. So if I were to ask you for your turnip prices today, you would not have an answer for me.
Sorry?
If I asked you what your turnip prices were, you wouldn't have an answer for me.
It's small.
Favorite 80s movie?
Oh. Well, one of them was Once Upon a Time in America.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I wasn't expecting. That's a good movie. Let's see here. Tacos or hamburgers?
A little bit in favor of tacos.
Good. Everyone should be a taco person. Best printer not made by Zaribo.
I have a raise at home,
mm-hmm.
and it's mechanically very well designed. It's expensive, but
yes.
I have to say, it's not printing better than a Zaribo.
Yeah, the extruders on those, the stock extruder on the raises I hear are not the best. So mechanically, they're awesome. Extruder is needs to be replaced, which is unfortunate for something so pricey.
Yeah. No, they're beautifully made with 16-millimeter ball screws and rods. That's where some of the ideas come from.
Yeah. Oh, man. So Zaribo is still the best one, not made by Zaribo.
No, I'm sure there are much better printers, but actually I haven't tried them all. I just have a few different brands at
We need
home.
to get you a Voron. You live like really close to getting a Voron. Well, you got to source all your own parts, but darn you, Voron. Besides stroopwafel, what's your favorite snack?
A snack? Well, it's snack. Well, usually when I'm hungry, I eat some toasts or so, or some sweets in between. So it's not a full meal; it's just something in between. Two things I'll do.
All right. What's the best infill pattern?
Ooh. Well, for some cases it's gyroid, but in most cases we use the rectangular.
Okay. Who would win in a battle royale? You, 3D Gustner, or Marathon?
And what?
In a battle royale.
What is
a fight to the finish.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Easier question. Who would win at a test of theoretical nuclear physics between the three of you? Who would win if there was a test they had to take on theoretical nuclear physics?
Most likely it will be me.
Perfect. All right. See? Let's see here.
They have a different education, I guess. So 3D Gustner is more in informatics. computer science in English. So, but I'm the physicist.
Let's see here. Who has the best beard in 3D printing?
The best beard.
Beard.
Oh, the beard. Oh, sorry. Well, I think yours is the longest one, and I'm not aware of anybody else having a beard.
That's how it is. It's only me.
So,
He apologizes to anyone else with a beard, but it's true. I'm the only one. There can be only one. All right, so Frank asks, what is the background? How did Zaribo start? And that's a really good question. This is about where we begin with that.
yeah, it's a long story. So, when I bought a Prusa, so this was one of the first frustrating things. I wanted to attach a different display. And I had to learn it's not working because Prusa has removed all the other drivers.
Yeah, yes, they did.
So it was impossible. But then there was the idea to make it maybe a bit taller, and I also met at that time Murathon on Facebook, and then we discussed several other things before we started to talk about 3D printing, and we were sticking our heads together what we can do, and at that time there was also the Haribo mod.
Yes.
And at a certain point we got into a terrible fight with them.
And one survived. There can only be one, and there's still one around, still making cool stuff.
Yeah, but the funny
He's
story
right there.
is we asked them about motor specs.
Yeah.
And they asked, why do you want to know motor specs? And we told them, well, we want to build a bigger one. And they were laughing at us. It will never work. And I said, well, okay, then we do our own one. So that's how it starts. So Murathon and I built the first version of the Zaribo. Then the Facebook group was founded. We were working on next releases. And then things started off. We didn't have all the parts for a full printer. So in the beginning, we only sold the upgrade kits.
Yep, the frames and all
You
that.
had to have a printer first, and then you got the frame and everything like you did. Even without bearings for the 8mm version. We opened the shop at some time. This was all based at the roof of my house where we started to work. I had a few students coming to build printers, and at some point this was my girlfriend was getting mad at me because there are so many people in our house, huge packages in front of our door. She couldn't even lift the packages, and she said you need to find something else. And then we found this shop which is about 80 meters squared. We have now 4 or 5 places to build printers, and then it's evolving from there.
Wow. So humble beginnings to prosperous continuation.
Prosperous, not yet.
Well, you're well known and you sell things.
Yeah, but we tried to stay close with the prices to the Prusa price.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we have really high quality parts in the printer. Yes. The margins are not very high. Also, when we buy people from other suppliers, you usually get as 15-20% or something like that. But you have also all costs like rent and other stuff, social security, for whatever you have it. And so before you're profitable, it's really a long way. And then you have to have all parts in stock. You have to make investments first in order to reduce the costs. So it really takes some time before you're getting profitable.
Yeah. Let's see here. Steve, thank you. Also, thank you, Dan, for the taco money. Mars Gizmo asks, do you have air extraction on your printers in the background?
Actually, no.
Because you just print in PETG.
Yes.
Yeah, so that should be fine. Because again, it's 235C. PETG is pretty safe.
Yeah.
You're good.
The red printers are printed in ABS-T. So the big advantage of that was that it's not smelling.
Yeah, but you're still getting styrene gas.
Yes.
Bad for you. That's why we have this. So that way, it's this way. There's an air extraction filter right there for my one printer that will print ABS. Let's see, you'll be able to get one of those soon. Let's see, I have another good question here. Das Rot asks, will Zaribo come with a bigger build plate?
Not with the bed moving version. So for a Core XY, it will be. But for me, it doesn't make sense to extend the bed with that type of printer.
Physics, folks. Bigger the bed, more mass, more weight, more things to move. Poopy.
Yeah.
That's my extent of my physics knowledge. It's poopy when the bed gets too big.
Yes.
Now, mind you, if you don't mind printing at 20 millimeters per second, anything is possible.
Yes, true. But it takes forever.
Let's see. The German 3D printing nerd asks, where are you located?
Close to Bonn. So in the middle part of Germany.
Oh. And there was Gustner with the answer. I didn't read. He was literally one more answer down, and he gave the answer.
Yeah, he knows the place very well.
Oh, wow. Mars Gizmo asking the tough ones here. I'm waiting for it to pop up so I can click it. It takes StreamYard has a delay of like 30 seconds between chat and real-time chat. So I'm waiting for this question. But Mars Gizmo asks, any plans for higher temps, 300 to 445 Celsius for PEEK and other nice industrial materials?
Well, we have the Mosquito.
Yep.
We have the Slice Engineering Thermistor as options already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible to print these temperatures with our printers. We are working also on an enclosure type where you can put in your Zaribo, or you have an integrated version already, taking the electronics out. And then it should be possible. I was also talking to Jason. He has some high temperature motors.
He does, yeah.
We will get them as well.
Yeah, that's the only hard part is once you go to temperatures that high, the electronics cannot be in there because, well, they could if you get some super high-end electronics, but for our general purpose 3D printing, you're not going to be able to stick a Prusa in an enclosure by itself and go, let me print PEEK. Because you need a heated chamber of very high temp, well, not very high for an enclosure, like 30 to 40 Celsius, good. 60 to 80 degrees Celsius or higher, bad for printers. Very bad for what the board needs to come out, the power supply needs to come out. Most of the motors are not rated for above 80 degrees Celsius, and they already run at 35 to 40 depending on your setup. So not highly recommended, but that would be cool. Any plans for even taller? Justin has a 420. I guess if you went out and called Jason and asked for a taller integrated stepper and taller 3030 and taller 10 millimeter rods, anything is possible, right?
Yeah, everything is possible. That's not so. The easiest part are rods and extrusion, of course, but it's getting tougher and tougher to have straight motors of that length.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once you hit those chambers, filters do fail, Dave. There's a question. This is something that we talked about before stream. Is there a standard 32-bit board that you're going to go to in the future? And I think we've all kind of come to the agreement is I've started the Zaribo SKR project. I'll have official firmwares for that soon. Like I have a firmware. It's already in my firmware on my GitHub. But as we've come to the conclusion, besides Duet, there isn't a high quality 32-bit board that has all of the features. And I'll let you elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, we were just discussing before the chat actually. So for us as a manufacturer, it's of course the issue that we are reliable which boards we put in. It cannot be a board with cheap components. If let's say a MOSFET will burn and the whole house will burn down, we are in real trouble. So we can only sell printers with high quality parts on it. So and that narrows it down to the Duet board, which is the only high quality boards available. All other boards, if you own a printer, you can exchange as to your needs, like the BTT, which is nice, but it's or the SKR board, but they are not production type boards yet.
That is true. It's tough. Like again, I think we mentioned it is Duet. Besides Ultimachine and Pentacot, who make higher end 32-bit boards, they're already outdated. You know, you can get a rearm board or a Panda Pi. Panda Pi is not outdated. It's just one guy converting things to make it work, and it's again, you have to warranty these things. You have to give support. If you're going to delve into a whole new board, you have to make firmware for it, support that firmware, and you know any issues with that board. And that's just an undertaking that I'm okay with undertaking that because I don't have if the board dies, they just go to Amazon and get a replacement. It's not that big of a deal. If you do it, you have to be like, well, I sold you the board. Here's the warranty on it. Like,
Yes.
and it's at the again. I think other companies have looked at the price that they're selling the board for. There's no margin. You can't make $1 on it, so you can't exchange it freely. Like, it's not one of those things where you'd lose money exchanging that product. Now, Duet, there's probably room, but then again, Duet is for me, as I like to tell people, it's a CNC board first that can do 3D printing. It's a very nice board, but do you need 5 amp output on your steppers? Do you need, all of these features on that board? But it doesn't come with basic things like there's not just a regular probe port. You have to wire it funky to make it work with the BL Touch, and now they finally have. It's this battle. Like, I want SKR because it gives me everything I need for a price that I'm willing to spend if it's going to die. But I don't think any company should be like, I'm going to start selling printers with SKR boards. No, I don't think you should.
If you look into warranty, you don't want that. And the other question, of course, is just exchanging the boards doesn't make a lot of a difference. So we would, when 3D Gassner was here, we were looking or we were testing some Duet, the BTT board, and just exchanging the boards doesn't make a difference. So it's not worth it when you consider that the Duet board plus the display is 250 euros.
Yeah.
And if you look at compare two prints, you cannot see the price tag of 250 euros in that. So you have to do something more, like exchanging the motors to 0.9 degree motors. This is also something we will look into.
Yeah, and that's what I did. My Zaribo runs these Giganto LDO 0. No, they're not Giganto. They're bigger than your standard motor. And you'll have these in the store like in a week or so, you said.
Yes, they are on the way to us. I got notified from customs that there is a huge package coming from LDO.
It's going to be. These motors are very heavy. But if anyone is looking for 0.9 X and Y on their printer, do not get the regular size ones. Definitely get the fatty ones because these are much easier to tune sensorless homing, and the torque is the same rating as you would get on the smaller one. So overall, you will have a lot less hassle. But remember that they won't work on a Prusa stock because they are 1.6 amp, and the max you really want to put out is about 800 milliamps on your INC board. So, again, there's if you've got a Duet or a SKR or something, they need to make some 1 amp variants, which is going to be crazy. So yeah, Mars asks, what is your favorite, 0.9 or 1.8?
Well, you can answer that. I cannot answer that yet.
I will say that there is a marginal difference. If you're building from scratch, there is almost no cost difference to go to 0.9. If your board is 32-bit, go 0.9. You'll notice some difference in vertical banding. You'll notice some issues in when you're doing circles. They'll be much smoother. But, if you already have a printer with 1.8 degree motors, I don't feel that it's necessary to go, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and buy these 0.9s and I'm going to have like the best prints ever. It doesn't work like that. Everything is a marginal increase. So if you spend $1 million on better parts, you won't see $1 million in print quality increase. You'll see a whole bunch of marginal increases in certain things. But with that comes issues like you have to learn how to tune a 0.9 motor. They're different than 1.8. Things like that. So
yeah, as you say, we are at a relatively high quality level already, and then you can only tune it marginally. It's not just exchanging the hardware. You also have to look into slicer settings and then everything else before you see really an improvement.
Man, yeah, it's tough. And someone just asked, so can they work with 2208s and 2209s? Never buy 2208s. I'm just kidding. You can buy 2208s, but if you buy the 2209s, they're rated up to 2 amps max output. You only need about 1,000 milliamps to run this motor correctly without any loss in torque and stuff compared to, because again, you don't want to run a motor at full amperage. You don't need to put 1.6 amps into this motor. It's actually not good. It'll just run hot. And the additional torque you're getting is wasted because you don't need that much torque. The 2209s will not get hot. I'm getting the same max 50 degrees Celsius temperature output as I do on everything else with those. The 2209s are amazingly cool. You do not need 5160s. No 3D printer needs 5160s. Well, no 3D printer that is consumer grade. There are some ridiculous printers. I don't know if you've ever seen the CME CNC, I don't know how tall that thing is. Like, it's taller than this room. It's like, I don't know. It's tall. It's like 3 meters tall printer, Delta, that prints like massive prints. That could probably use 5160s. But if you have a printer like we do, you don't need 5 amp output motors. So yeah, again, Duet boards are CNC boards that can do 3D printing. So the last thing I like to ask everyone before we end the show is, what's next? What do you have? What are you planning on that you're willing to let us know? What is the future Zaribo-ness?
Yeah, as I indicated earlier, there will be an, let's say, integrated version. We are working on a Core XY as well.
That's exciting.
And I'm also not have decided on the Mini yet. So I have some nice ideas to make the Mini a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
But then it's also a cost issue. If it's in the end 200 euros more expensive, it's not attractive. It's nicer, but it's not attractive. So we also have to look at the cost perspective as well. But I'd love to. Sometimes it's nice. I have the Mini next to my desk at home, and sometimes if you have some small stuff, some prototypes, nice to throw it on there.
Mm-hmm.
Print quality of the Mini can be improved. I have the Bondtech upgrades on it. It's nice. And also in the farm, we don't need a Zaribo 220. A 150 would be sufficient for that. So I'm sitting between chairs there.
It sounds like you need to make a mini Zaribo.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay with this.
Yeah. So, but also, of course, our capacities are limited. We are a small company, so we have to focus on certain things. I think we have done a quite good job on the current Zaribo. we're working on these things, and if we had more resources, there could be more stuff. But you see, even Prusa, which is a huge company compared to us, they struggle making a product really working in terms of firmware, of hardware, and we would run into the same trap. We have loads of customer support to do in that case. So I think sometimes it's underestimated how much effort it takes to bring a product to market. It's not just putting some pieces together. They must be working.
It is nice when you buy something and it works. That's always the that's if you're running a business, everyone, business 101, if you sell something, make sure it works. And it's tough. Like when the Mark III launched, it didn't work. I hate to go back that route, but the Mark III, when it launched, did not work. I mean, it printed, and some people got great prints, but the majority of people had issues, and it's not easy. You know, you can try to figure out all the bugs, but once you put it into people's hands, those people are going to find things you didn't think you can make an issue with.
You won't imagine with what people come up with support questions.
Oh yeah.
So with our components, when we exchange one component, there are sometimes side effects. Like we had the cooler extruder motors, and we were assuming they will work as X or Y motor as well, until we learned the hard way that they don't, because they don't measure the end stops right.
Yeah.
So the self-test will fail. And if you have 10 customers telling you their self-test is not working, that's not really fun. To make it work, to get printers back in some cases, to send exchange motors. It's really tough to have everything under control. There are so many components in there that can fail, like wires, like thermistors, like PINDAS. They all can fail. And then if you have 10 customers or 20 customers you have to take care because of certain issues, it's not fun. So that's why I'm saying we have to focus on certain things, and most likely the Core XY will be one of those things.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Again, it's the market is saturated with bed slingers. I mean, there's a lot of bed slingers. Now there's becoming a saturation of Core XY machines, but very few of them are good. Like Railcore is good, but it still has major design flaws. Voron is good, but it's a very difficult kit to find. You can't just go to Voron's website and order a kit. You have to go to Aliexpress or actually go to Misumi and like 9 other distributors and order all the darn parts. Like, again, it's making it difficult. You know, it makes it less, it makes it harder for someone that's an enthusiast to go, oh yeah, this is my next printer I'm going to buy. Then you go into the China Core XY printers and you've got like the Sapphires and the Trudons that are based off the Voron and all those other ones. Then it's hit or miss. Like, do you get a good one? Do you get a bad one? What support am I going to get? Again, there is not a, you know, besides like, is the Razer Core XY or is that a HBot type printer? I don't remember. But yeah, there's a market for a really good high quality kit that you can go, I'm just going to buy this kit and it's going to have everything I need and it's well documented and has support. For Core
so
XY.
this was also one of our ideas when we started that. So that we have one source for all parts. Because as I said earlier, we had some difficulty. You cannot go to an electronic shop and buy a bed.
Yeah. It doesn't happen.
And even some other like smaller springs or something like that. It was really hard to find. So it's really a task or research to find suppliers that do that. We were discussing the black square nuts. So when we buy 50,000, we can get them in black.
Here's silver. I can get them in silver all day long.
So it's the same as with other things. So we have most or almost everything that is on the printer in the shop as well.
Yeah.
So the same must be true for a Core XY or any other thing. At least that
Yep.
would be my goal, to have all the parts available.
Hmm.
And that's why you have to design it carefully. You have to look, can you source the parts? You have to find suppliers, let's say half a year before you launch. And yeah, it's so many things to consider,
Yep.
um, and which you also have to learn sometimes the hard way.
Yeah. That it is not easy, and you can't please everyone.
No,
I mean, people can buy the best darn printer in the world and still be unhappy. So it's what it is. So let me get. There's a couple good questions that came in. Mars asks, "Is it worth adding a cross stabilizer to reduce wobbly frame?" I will tell you one thing. After building this 320, it is not wobbly. I stood on that frame. I felt secure and safe standing on that frame. I don't know about the 420, but you gotta remember, once you add 10 millimeter rods and they're braced at the top and bottom, and that 30/30 extrusion, which is screwed in from underneath, you're gonna have a hard time finding much wobble. With 8 millimeter rods, maybe. I don't know. I don't have a gauge. But what do you think?
well, it's adding some sturdiness, but also the INC board and the PSU um, will support the Z-axis
Yes.
because it's attached to the frame. So I would say there's always wobble, of course, but
Yeah.
not really measurable.
Yeah. Let's see here. And Dasrot asks, is there going to be a discount if you upgrade from old to new? In my mind, I would say no, but what does Wolfgang say?
Yeah. Well, we have exactly that kit in the shop already, so you can take it as a discounted or non-discounted uh, upgrade kits. If you buy the parts separately, it will be more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we have in
Yeah.
the shop already.
It's tough. Like Prusa tries to do that. Like remember when people were bugging them to make a Mark III conversion from Mark II? And they're like, okay, we'll make it, but it's going to be really expensive. There's not going to,
Yes.
because there's nothing to discount. And that's
Yeah.
the hard part. Like you want to please everyone, but yeah, there's a reality here. Things cost money, and you bought the old one. It'd be nice to throw something in there, but it's tough. Like you aren't buying cheap Chinese extrusion and cheap Chinese rods and rails. There's not like, okay, we can make a deal. You're buying Masumi, and you're like, oh, this,
Yeah.
and the prices keep going up. Like I bought rods recently from Masumi, and the prices are $5 more. It's your margins keep getting cut.
And the work
So
for us is the same. So um, no one will do the package cheaper because
yeah.
it's an upgrade.
Yep. When will I become a U.S. distributor? I will not distribute product. I have a goal in life, and that's to not have a heart attack at a young age. So if I do anything like I've done before, if I try to bring something, it's going to be sold by someone who's already a store because they're already willing to put their life on the line. Like Dave from Printed Solid, who's like, if Dave from Printed Solid wants to be a Zaribo distributor, by all means, you guys can talk. Have fun. Let me know how it goes. I'd like to see it because it'd make it faster for us. And we have a Masumi here, so he can just throw you kickback money. However you guys want to do that, that's cool. Um, Me, on the other hand, no. Nope. I don't want. Nope. Nope. Not even a 10-foot pole. Someone asked something else good. Where is it? My thing jumped. Business one, Business 102. Make sure it works after someone tries to improve it. Will Zaribo SKR firmware available? I am supporting it. Zaribo, I would definitely tell every company that wants to put an SKR board on their printer, don't do it. That should be the choice of the person that wants to throw it on there because again, it adds a whole new level of difficultness. So I am supporting one. There is already my Zaribo 320 firmware. So if you have 0.9 degree XY, specifically these 0.9 XYs, and a Mosquito hot end, and that 10 millimeter rod version, I have firmware for you. It's in my GitHub. but I think we've already answered that. There is not going to be an SKR Zaribo like branch on their GitHub.
Yeah. So, but what we will have in the shop as a European distributor for LDO will be the cables that connect the motors to the SKR board.
Yes, so they will have some bits. And thank you, Jason, for carrying those. They're on my desk over on the other side of the office, but there's little extensions to make the kit easier, so you don't have to cut some things. I'm still looking for a fan distributor to make me the right fans for this SKR kit, because my favorite fan is not carried, and nobody carries it because everything is sold out. Because again, nothing's in 100% production, so my Mechatronics fans are just sitting, waiting for July as the next order date, and pain in my butt. The Core XY, will it use rods or rails? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question, which I cannot answer yet. So we discussed before, it's an issue aligning the rods. So it's not something for everybody. So for a kit, it will be probably it will be rods. If for an assembled one, it could be rails. So I cannot tell you yet.
The secret. It's a secret. You'll find out when it hits. We better see a cool video, like a Prusa, like, lifting the veil. Like, look, it's got rails. Oh no, it's got rods. Nope, it's got ball screws. Let's see here. The answer is no. No, Chris is not carrying any kits of anything. I will carry printed parts for stuff if people need printed parts. But nope. That is what I want. I just want a 300 cube Core XY. Like, I don't need a 7,000, but 300 is great. Where's a preferred location for the spool? Top or side?
It depends. So in our farm, there is no room on the top. For a 1 kilogram spool, it sits fine on the top of the printer. If you have an enclosure, the recommendation is to put the spool on top of the enclosure.
Hemera or Mosquito? That is also a good question, because I have both. So the red printer here has a Hemera. This has BMG V6, BMG regular Mosquito, BMG Magnum, V6 with geared extruder, and BMG Magnum with BMG Magnum. So I've got the plethora. But what do you think, Wolfgang? Hemera or Mosquito?
I cannot answer for the Hemera. I still have a Hermes here.
Oh yeah. I also have a Hermes. That's what my box said. I got mine from Dave. It was a Hermes.
So, but seriously, I have not tried it, to be honest.
Okay.
Greg had designed some carriage for the bear, and we don't have a carriage yet. That's the simple answer to that. No. I'm not sure if you have to modify firmware because of missing print space, self-test failing.
You
do. I don't want to give 3D Gusner a heart attack over that, adding 360 more versions of firmware.
Yeah, it's for me, because I was using the SKR board, all I did was slide the bed to the right, and now it gets the full bed usage.
Yeah.
And I already have firmware that worked with the motor, so it was no issue. But yeah, he has to make custom firmware for the Hemera. So I would definitely go Mosquito. Much easier.
Yeah, it's so convenient with the Mosquito. I love it. Before, I was always hesitant to change a nozzle. And now I changed more nozzles in 2 months than in my whole lifetime.
That is my argument. I used to have a printer with each nozzle because I hated changing nozzles. The V6 is a horrible design if you want to change nozzles. Mind you, it's not bad. It's just the worst way possible, because if you do it wrong, everything spins, something disconnects, heat break loosens, and you're like, I got to take this whole thing apart. I've changed nozzles like on a weekly basis now. Like, I don't care. I'm just like, nozzle, new nozzle, done. Like, I can't believe it. That is, if that was on the Hemera, I might be sold on the Hemera. Just saying. I still like it, but
No,
Um,
it's so nice. And if you look at the cost aspect as well,
yeah,
so if the printer fails here, we have to replace parts. Someone needs to work on it, and even one failure makes up the additional cost.
yeah,
It's really worth it.
yeah. I have not broken a thermistor since switching to a Mosquito. That's that's it. To
Yeah.
put it that way, I've saved a lot of money on thermistors and heater cartridges. Didn't typically break them very often, but I did. Sven asks if he takes the Einc box and the PSU off the frame, will he need to? Should he add support structure?
Um, well, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Um, um, the honest answer, I don't know. You have to try. Because, as I said earlier, for the 420, I think it's really adding support there.
yeah,
If you have a 420, and remove the PSU plus Einsi, it would maybe not a bad idea to add some additional support there. For the
yeah.
220, I don't think so, especially with the
Ooh,
10 millimeters.
Mars with all these really difficult questions. Are there any plans to add more metal parts instead of printed parts? Oof,
I would
oof.
phrase it the other way around. Reduce the number of plastic parts. Yeah, that's really something um, we have in mind. So keep in mind the printed parts on a current Zaribo, they print about 100 hours
Yeah,
with our settings. So we have 5 top bottom layers, 35% infill, zero point 0.2 millimeters layer height. So these parts really look very nice,
hmm,
and it's quality parts. And this is a cost thing as well. So we sell the printed parts for 85 euros for 100 hours of print plus tax plus filament plus paying the person for removing the printed parts. So we
yeah,
don't make any money on that. So reduction of number of printed parts is really something we have in mind.
yeah. That
And
makes
of course,
sense.
adding stability, like the block version.
Yeah,
It was a huge step forward to use the aluminium blocks instead of the plastic parts for moving the bed.
yep,
Um, there's a prototype using 12 millimeters rods, and they are held by metal blocks.
hmm.
And this is like a tank. Uh, um,
Slightly.
so yes, of course, we have that in mind.
Nice. All right, it is 1:15. I have to be ready for stuff, and I think we've done everything that I normally do on a show. So I think it's a good time to say, give us your last words, Wolfgang. What do you want to tell everyone in chat? There's 106 people in chat right now. What do you want to tell them?
It was a pleasure to be here. It was
So,
really fun. Thanks for having me.
no problem. I'm glad you wanted to hop on. You messaged me and I was like, let's do it. And I was like, let's do it.
Yes.
And I think next week I have Dave from Printed Solid, and I need to bug some other people. So my word is it's been an awesome experience. Like again, I think I shared my cons and my pluses, and I'll do a full what I full review basically. I don't really like doing reviews, but it's nice having all the different things. I've had a Mark IIs, I've had a Mark III, I've had a Mark IIIs, I've had a Bear, I've had a Bear 2.0, a Bear 2.1, and now a Zaribo. So there's insight, and I've kind of given my little things, but I will say to everyone in chat, like 10 millimeter rods and that sturdy 3030 frame, that is the quietest Prusa printer that I have. And it prints phenomenally well. Like I wish I had more prints because all I did was literally put it in my farm. Like I was like, I have so many orders for parts. Like I'm like, people need parts, and they're coming out. Again, there's no ringing. There's basically perfect layer lines you're gonna get. Top layers are immaculate. I mean, it prints like it prints better than some of my other printers to an extent. Like again, it's not like a huge night and day, but I'm like, okay, yeah, these are better prints. And I'll get into that when I have more time to actually print things that aren't parts. And I'm almost caught up on my orders, so I can start printing things like this. but taller. Like when I get to print fun things again, I can't wait. So I appreciate the hard work you put in making a great product, and everyone from the Zaribo team. It was also a fun build. It's different.
Yeah, it's not just me. There are quite a few people working on that, helping with firmware. We have now a team. 3D Gazna is doing a fabulous job on firmware, on scripting and everything to make sure every version is in the GitHub. It's other people working here. It's really fun, and it's also it's making me sound a little bit of proud to see Zaribos in every part of the world. And,
Yep.
so that's really fun to see when you come out with something. Someone from Brazil is printing that part or building that printer and enjoying it. And appreciating it. So it's also fun for us.
It is really fun. It's fun watching the modding community. Like I'm a big proponent of modding printers, so this is just, if you have something, you can always make it better. And that's kind of like, again, it was cool seeing the different parts. Like I've heard opinions on whose parts are what, and I'm like, these make sense. It's different when you build it, and things make sense when you start putting it together. So again, it's kind of neat looking at, how Zaribo looked at the parts and how to solve certain issues that come with the stock Prusa or come with making things taller or bigger. So it's kind of neat. It's been a real neat, not real neat. It's been a real fun actual experience watching and learning. Like there's some things I'm like, okay, I know why this does this and why that does that. And yes, 3D Gustner for president. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
President of the world, not just the president.
No.
Because I think we're the only place that has. I don't know who has presidents. I'm not. Oh, Brian liked my see. When Brian Vine likes your stream, that is a sign of a good stream. So yeah, everyone should hit like, and if you haven't subscribed, you can hit subscribe too. I'm not going to call for that, but hit the like button. Go to Zaribo's website, check them out. I'll start eventually. I'll be able to share prints. I've shared a couple prints. This is just, I've literally printed 10 of these. That's 10 SKR cases because I have orders for SKR cases. That's all it's been doing.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. Also, of course, the cons. So you only can get better if you're aware of the cons. It's like with writing the manual. You don't find your own mistakes or how people can misunderstand what
pictures
you meant.
I'm a pictures person. That's one thing. That's like my one con in the build guide was when you say you're doing something, I need to see it. Like I need an arrow, because literally when I build something, like when I build the bear has finally gotten really good guides. Like they did the same thing Prusa did, and what I've learned from building Prusas to every other printer was pictures, because I'll just look at the picture like, oh, that's what I got to do, and then I do it. It's just if I read, I'm gonna mess it up.
In the current manual, we have more than 400 pictures taken while building it. So actually, my son took most of the pictures for 6 or 7 chapters, and I photoshopped them afterwards. But it's so much work. I did the last chapters myself, and also did the translation. But it's so much work, and I wish we had some team working on it, like Prusa can afford it. They do a great job, like Greg does with his documentation. It's really well done, but it's so much work, and it looks so easy when you look at just the pictures.
Yeah.
But to appreciate how much work is in that,
it is a lot of work. But Shane is right. Lego instructions. All printers should come with Lego instructions. That's if I could say that, and that's for any company. Like that's, not a knock on you guys. It's just everyone should have idiot-proof instructions.
Yes.
Because I think I'm the first one to say, if I can break it, I'm gonna break it, and if I'm gonna do something wrong, if I've built so many bears, I don't even look at the instructions anymore. If I built as many Zaribo as I built, I wouldn't look at the instructions anymore. But it's that little things. It's those little things. Yeah, Dozuki, whatever those things are, manuals. 3D printing and painting. Of course we rock. You rock. The community rocks.
Yes.
Legos rock. There should be a Lego 3D printer, like a legit build it out of Legos and it prints. I'm just saying.
Oh, there is a Lego model of a Prusa, I think.
There is, but I want a working one. I want to build it, and then you add a heated bed and metal bits, and it actually works. Just saying.
Here in Germany, we have Fischer Technik. You know that?
Yeah.
And they have a working printer.
That's pretty amazing.
It's not Lego.
David is the best here. As soon as you make something idiot-proof, then God creates a bigger idiot. Yes. That's why I'm here. So, all right, Wolfgang, appreciate you coming on the show.
Yes. As I said,
we'll
it was really a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a little different, you know. You got to put the face with the name, or the voice with the face with the name, something like that. It print double. Oh man! So again, appreciate it. We're gonna head off. You have a wonderful Saturday evening. I'm gonna go start my day actually. So
yes, have a great day, a great evening, a great lunch, a great.
Oh, lunch sounds so good right now. I haven't had lunch yet. My tummy is like food.
Okay.
So I'll see if I can find any German food upstairs. We do have one German restaurant in town that's actually a legit German restaurant. So they do have a very nice patio. I might have to do that sometime this week. Not today. Can't do that right now. Not too much sausage. That's going to get to me. So
okay, thank you very much.
Good night, Wolfgang.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, chat.